So the reason I put together 5 game ingredients is because Christian Segerstrahl of Playfish about a year and a half ago did a talk about 5 tips for putting together a game development company. And that's a much higher level. But I think actually, without being here to hear his talk, I wouldn't have built the game that I had, because I started something else back in about August last year. Following some of Christian's tips, I realized actually that I was going in completely the wrong direction. And after 2 months, I just stopped what I was doing, threw away kind of a load of wasty work and developed this. So this is some of the things that I've learnt and put into developing it, and some of the things that I've learnt from having it out there for 5-6 months now. This is assuming that as a games developer, you're a small team or a solo effort. I've got no idea how to set up a games company, an EA Sports or a Zynga or a Playfish. That you've got a virtually non-existent marketing budget. You want to create a game that you're going to start small, try and grow it, and push it virally, get people kind of actually using it. You can't spend tens of thousands of pounds on a marketing campaign. You've got no tie-in or license. You're not working for an agency. It's not tied into the next Transformers film. You've got to come up with all of these ideas yourself. You've got no head start, basically. So my first tip is to make something that's easily defined. If a user can't tell what your game is almost from the title or understand it, I think they're going to be less likely to play it. Not to say that they won't play it, but I think everything you want to do here is to give yourself the maximum chance of it being a success. If you can't use an existing tie-in because there's going to be licensing issues, then pick something that people know what it is. So I've picked football because everybody knows what football is. And it's football management. Most of the people who are going to play it have probably played some kind of football management game, or they've seen something and they just want a slightly more casual version and don't want to spend £40 on the Codemasters version. So a descriptive title, I've got Soccer Stars. My Soccer Stars Football, I think, is the name of the app. Tells people what it's about. They know it's something to do with football. I know that people who like football might be interested in it. The lots of people who don't like football aren't going to be, but it's okay because Facebook's got 250 million users. If only 1% of them like football, then I've got 2.5 million users to pitch at. I get 10% of those, and it's still a very big market. So I don't think it's worth trying to pitch a game to appeal to everyone. Well, it might be if you're good enough, but I wouldn't worry about being defined by who isn't going to play your game, as long as there's a big enough proportion that are. The other thing at the end, football, a recognised game tape, football management. I checked out, you have to check out on Facebook that it's not overcrowded. Playfish has already done bowling buddies. Anybody else who wants to create a bowling game is probably going to be on diminishing returns. I looked at the football management games on Facebook. There was one good game that had about 500,000 users. Didn't really have any of the features even of the Spectrum games I played in the 1980s. So I knew I could do better than that. There was no reasonable other competition. They weren't by a big game company. They were by a company with a few other apps, but they didn't seem to be developing that one actively. So I thought, well, 500,000 users, if I could do a game that's better, as good as that, I can get 500,000 users. The other thing is to recognise, my second point, why people play games. This is something taken from some of the reading that also pushed me to ditch the first game ideas I was developing on. We all have people who play games have different reasons. The type of games you build may not be the type of games that are going to be successful that other people want to play. Richard Bartle has grouped them into explorers, socializers, achievers, and controllers. So explorers want to get into a kind of virtual world game, and they want to go everywhere, and they want to buy absolutely everything and build everything that's in there. Tick all the boxes, and then it's kind of, they've seen it all, which is good. I quite like that kind of technique of games. I'm never satisfied until I've kind of done everything. The socializers will go in there to deal with people. Got a message. To talk with people and make friends, and they don't really care as long as they're doing okay. They'll kind of go along, and it's a fun activity. The achievers want to be at the top of everything. They want to be the best, whatever it's accumulating money or accumulating the biggest castle or whatever. And then there's the controllers who, for me, it's the market I understand least. They want to feel like they kind of have some influence on the game and other players, whether it's helping them out or constricting them. They've got sort of a power that they can use in a kind of, some kind of godlike manner. So trying to design the gameplay so that it addresses all of these 4 types of user, one of which is probably most like you and one of which is probably completely opposite to the way you think about. And trying to think that are these elements in my game when I'm designing it, I think is it's going to give you more chance of success than just building kind of the one type of game. And then paying attention to the learning curve. Users start off at a particular point of little knowledge, like how long is this game going to last? What's the experienced player's experience going to be like compared to the beginner player? Beginner players in my game come in with a very small team, they can build their way up or they can get their way through. I have a lot of flaws in that I don't really know where the end point is. When someone gets to the top, they should really stop playing because I don't think there's anything more to do, but they don't. They hang around complaining that the game's not as good as it used to be. And the other thing is create a feature roadmap. The good thing with Facebook that we don't have with offline games, Codemasters can't ship Championship Manager and then 2 weeks later ship you another version because they want to put a few new features in. You can throw out a social network game. You can spend, say, 2 months developing it and then just see how it sticks, see whether these kind of ideas of how it appeals to people work or not. And if you get a couple of thousand users in a few weeks, you can develop a lot more with it. So you want to have all these features. You prune the features out from version 1 to get it out as quickly as possible. And you can basically continuously deploy it. So every 2 weeks you can put a new version out, which is something that offline game designers can't do. The thing is, once you've got this roadmap and you've stripped everything out, you release feature 1, your users will do everything with it that you don't expect. Hyperinflation issues if you have a virtual currency system, all kind of exploits. I mean, the kind of crowdsourcing of bug fixing or bug detection out there, you can try and show it through all kinds of unit tests for gameplay at it that you like, but a couple of thousand users will find very, very small sort of a percentage gain with this player type, or this strategy usually this much, or oh, I've noticed if I play at 1 minute to the hour, I get a slight advantage because everyone's energy comes up. It's amazing what gets out there. So in Soccer Stars, I tried to deal with the explorers, trying to give them more features for things they can accumulate. So as you progress through the game, you get a team, you get income from playing matches, you can buy a stadium, you can buy coaching staff, you can buy a gym, then you keep on upgrading your stadium. At some point you kind of run out of things to do, but you can there's these things that sort of open up as you progress through the game. The socializers deal with it. There's not enough of this aspect at the moment, mainly through kind of discussion boards. I basically used all of Facebook's built-in discussion features, put one on every league table, put one on every team page. Didn't know if anybody was going to use them for anything, and they actually did. And people are commenting on there. Maybe it's only, on an average league board, it might only be one post every couple of hours, but there are people who are kind of, posting there, oh, I can't believe they beat me, or look at this victory over this person. And then the achievers, there's a league system. I had to structure the game so that when people came in, I wanted the leagues to be small enough that you could get promoted and you get some satisfaction. So there's a weekly promotion where the top few teams get up the first rung of the ladder, basically. And that fits in quite well with the learning curve as well, because basically anyone who's keen on playing it can get promoted within about a week and a half. So they get that kind of instant satisfaction, and then it gets much harder and harder. Because it's a kind of pyramid structure, this grows the more users there are in there, so there's about 5 levels you can go up. And I think if you were kind of good at the game, it would probably take you about 2 to 3 months to get from the bottom to the top, unless you went and spent a load of money trying to sort of get up there. And then the controllers, they have some kind of outlet with a transfer market of buying and selling players and be able to bid on friends, or there's a lot of kind of player swap deals that go on, which something I never expected. Because there's discussion boards, people offer to sell one player of their team for a player on another team, and it makes them feel like they have a social standing, I guess, in this game somewhere. Although the flaw is that Soccer Stars is biased towards the achievers, because that's the kind of, as I've seen now, that's the kind of thing, the way that I play games, or the kind of games that I've played in the past that have appealed to me, the kind of building something, Age of Empires, not I've ever played it, that kind of thing. So it's kind of got more of that element in there, which probably accounts also for being a football game, why it's about 85% men who play it.